Welcome. This is the Drupal Usability meeting for June 2nd, 2023. I'm Benji Fisher moderating, and also here are Ralph Kohler sharing his screen, who will start off the discussion, and Quinn Pham and Simo Helston. Go ahead, Ralph.
Okay. We're looking at issue number 332334. It's in the project browser queue. Review all pop-up messages shown by Svelte UI installer for user friendliness. It's an issue we've already touched in an usability meeting a few months ago. Back then, we were only able to cover a single error message. And Benji also made a comment 6 months ago with a few recommendations. And after that, we've worked on trying to improve it. Beforehand, I have to note the only detail that was recommended to avoid using the term staging area and use something else. We've tried, but basically it ended up staging area could be also used not necessarily in the context of Composer, but staging an area for preparation. So, well, we just could go through the messages. I've created a text file. In italic is the current state. The first message would be stage exception. A stage cannot be unlocked while applying. For two of those error messages, I've added a bit of context, what it actually means. Most of the other error messages are sort of self-explanatory now. Those two are the only ones that needed a bit further context. So basically, stage exception, a stage cannot be unlocked while applying. Chris meant, yes, project browser could be used by multiple users simultaneously technically. So it's possible that user B is installing a module and user A is trying to install something. So it could be very hidden from them, maybe something along the lines. And the suggestion now is the staging area cannot be unlocked while another module is being added. Try again in a few minutes. Should we go through all the messages at once first and then step through with comments, or should we go one by one?
I think one by one will be easier.
Okay.
And this, can you say again, why are we still talking about staging area? I mean, I thought the primary recommendation the last time we looked at this was that staging area means nothing to someone using this module. Why are we talking about it? I mean, I know that technically it means something, and that's the root of the problem, but from the user's point of view, this is,
from a user's point of view, from my understanding, I think staging area, it just communicate something is prepared. And that was the reason why we stuck with staging area, because we've tried a few other alternatives, but those got lengthy and wordy, and staging was the briefest and the most concise. But yeah, if anyone has a better idea, more than welcome.
What are the reasons there are not being able to add another module while one is already being added than unlocking staging area. So what other cases there are when a user cannot add a module while another module is being added?
Because the staging area is locked in that case. When
Yeah,
a module...
but what are other cases when user cannot add module while another one is being added? Because I think it's kind of a, I'm thinking that would it be enough to say that you cannot add another module? You cannot add a module when another module is being added, or something like that, so that it doesn't need to, does the user need to know that the reason is that staging area cannot be unlocked. So it's just to tell that you can't add another module before this something is finished.
So first of all, I've pasted a link into the Zoom chat, so anyone can log into that site using admin. And if you are logged in as an admin user and you go to the extend page and then the browse tab, you can see the current state of the project browser module. And I think that for context, it would help too, Ralph, if you could.
Yeah, 1 second. Already. Oh, no admin Drupal. Okay.
Oh, and do I have to enable?
1 second. I'll make it. Project browser. Oh no, package manager version 2.5 or newer. Is package manager installed? Yeah, automatic updates is also needed to be installed.
I know.
Thank you. Oh, symlink issues.
Well, maybe this is enough context for now. So this is the project browser, and once I get my test site set up properly, you will be able to download a module directly from the user interface, unless something goes wrong. And something goes wrong is what we're discussing. What are the error messages we should show?
Yeah, and for the context, without those errors, instead of the view commands button, you will have an add and install button. And after clicking that and something goes wrong, those 10 messages are the most common that will show up. if something goes wrong. So yeah. Yep, and in regards of Simo's suggestion, that might work, I think.
Yeah, I think that Simo was suggesting something pretty much like what I had suggested, which is that we talk about another module is being installed rather than the staging area is locked.
Simo's suggestion is a new module cannot be added before previous module installation is completed.
So Simo, do you want to propose some actual text to replace that? Shall I try?
I posted one in the chat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what I've read.
New module cannot be added before previous module installation is completed. I would say something like, give the information and then suggest the action. So
yeah,
first a short sentence, another module is being installed, period. Nice and short. Try again in a few minutes. So keep that part from the current message.
Yeah, I think that's good. Kind of one of the ideas that came looking at that one was that you can't install this module, but we are installing another module instead. That kind of but it's not really something that would be kind of misunderstood, but it kind of reminds me of replacing something that in pharmacists sometimes they replace one medicine with another one that does the same. So it's kind of because that's something that happened to me yesterday, so that kind of reminded me of that one. But I think there is no really possibility for misunderstanding that one. So I think the shorter is better.
But the only detail in regards of the another module is being installed, if I'm not very technical savvy and I read another module is being installed, I wonder, have I initiated that installation process?
And Quinn has a suggestion in the chat.
Oh, yeah.
Complete previous module installation before adding a new one. And I think the issue here with both of those suggestions is that as the explanation above says, we don't know whether the current user is installing another module or possibly some other user, some other admin user is already running an installation. So if I haven't started the installation, telling me that I should complete that installation seems like a confusing message to me.
Would it make sense to add to your suggestion, Benji, another module is being installed by another user?
Well, it could be also that if somebody keeps multiple browser windows, so there is actually by the same user, kind of.
Huh.
So kind of a real use case would be that somebody is updating a certain module for, or installing a certain module for maybe 3 similar sites, and just having them in different tabs and clicking install, install, install. But instead of having 3 different sites, he's having one in 2 browsers, 2 tabs.
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, I think the original text has one advantage over mine. It uses added rather than installed. So can you change that? And since we don't know if it's another user or the current user, I think we should just keep it short. Say what we know.
True. See more as a point. So just another module is being added. Try again in a few minutes.
That's my suggestion.
Yeah. +1 from me.
I mean, if you think it's important, you can add a sentence that it might be another user or it might be you yourself. I don't think that makes it any more actionable. I don't think it's worth adding an extra sentence, but if you think it's an important distinction.
Not necessary. The longer I think about it, keeping it brief might do the trick.
Yeah. Less is more.
Yeah, indeed.
Quinn, Simo, are you okay with that? Do you hate that phrasing?
I'm okay with that. I'm just thinking about adding to your sentence, Simon, the install cannot continue, but I'm still working on that sentence. I don't know how to add it in it. Because clearly we cannot, I mean, the installation process cannot proceed right now, right? So somehow we need to get that message in.
No, I think the fact that you push the button that says add this module and an error message pops up, I think in a modal window.
Yeah.
It's pretty clear that it's not going to go ahead.
Oh, I see. So it's already add.
Just for the context, everything in regards of staging and composer is during the add process, and the install process at a later point is then the actual install. The add is everything in relation to composer.
I see.
So shall we go on to the next?
I'm ready.
Unlock message, install staging area unlocked. That's again the problem. The whole message is about the staging area, and keeping that out is complicated. The suggestion was the staging area has been unlocked. New modules can be added again. Or should the first sentence be striked and just new modules can be added again?
I think that would be an improvement. Again, less is more. So again, the recommended pattern is describe the state and describe the next steps.
So this how to resolve it. Yep. And that was the pattern. There's the actual state is described in the first sentence, and in the second sentence are the next steps that could be taken.
For the second sentence, should we directly address the admin user and say, you can now add another module? So Quinn suggests in the chat, staging area unlocked. You can now add new modules. And I still think the goal here is to remove all references to the staging area, because looking at the project browser, I don't see a staging area. That's something hidden behind the scenes. So I never want the user interface to refer to the staging area.
How about taking out the word staging? So you can see the area unlocked. You can now add a new modules.
Well, I don't think that helps. It's what area?
Yeah.
Where's the key? How do I lock it or unlock it?
Good point.
So the second sentence, I think, is an improvement. It's not in the passive voice, like new modules can be added again. That's passive voice. So the
How about, oops. You can now add new modules again. I think with again, it implies that something was impossible before and is now possible again. And that action is adding new modules.
how about something sort of vague, like the system is ready? Or yeah, I prefer full sentences, but maybe this would be a case where we could just say system ready, colon. You can now add another, you can add a new module again.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, clear and simple, but provide enough information.
Would it make sense instead of system just replace with project browser is ready, you can add a new module again.
Yeah, I think that's better than system. Although, again, is project browser used in the user interface? You know, the page title is browse projects.
Technically, it's a package manager, which is ready again. Project browser is actually just that. Yeah, true. But if you use package manager is ready, then most users don't know what package manager actually is. And that might be confusing.
Yeah, I think we can leave that decision to the people working on the issue, people working on the project browser, whether they want to use the term project browser in the interface or whether to use something vague like system.
Okay. Any objections, or shall we move on to the third?
I'm ready to go on to the third.
Okay, that's the last one with direct naming of staging, and it's the most complicated. And I'm uncertain if it works there to leave staging error completely out. Source unavailable, cannot download project ID from any available source. Chris wrote, I don't see how this could be improved unless we can pass through a further error from behind from Composer. If the code is not currently doing that, it seems like it's pretty fatal. I think someone would have to adjust Composer repositories or something in order to make this work. I could see this happening if we enable a repo of private modules, then try Composer install my private/custom module, but the Composer JSON doesn't have the private repo added in it. If anything, possibly adding, please check update your Composer JSON and try again. I would have to look deeper at the code to best understand when this error could happen, so can't commit to adding the second sentence. And the suggestion is currently unable to download the project ID module from any available source. This might be a network issue. Try again in a few minutes. If the problem persists, check the site's Composer JSON to be sure the project is available to Composer. It's such a fatal error, and the odds are very, very low that someone might run into that. We tried to avoid to use something, contact your administrator or something like that, because you don't know if someone has a team or even an administrator available. And also in that case, being vague and avoiding Composer at all, in that case, it might be the wrong choice. And therefore, we directly addressed the Composer JSON in that particular case.
Yeah, I actually don't have a problem with this. And is that first message, source unavailable, cannot download project ID from any available source? Is that what the project browser is getting from the package manager module?
Yeah, or that, no, that's the string which is used in the Svelte UI installer file, the pop-up message. All those messages are the strings that are used in that installer.
Okay, so that's the current user interface text.
Yeah. And when it actually comes up, of course, project ID is replaced by the name of the module. Yep.
Could this error come up when, like in those cases when you run out of some free connections, and you need to activate another token to talk with the repository? So sometimes with Composer install, you need to kind of get those, like activate some new tokens to be able to download all the stuff from the repositories. So, and I'm thinking, could this happen at a if there is one server with multiple sites? And because it's probably, I think it's IP related, so sometimes it might be that downloading to a single IP gets restricted, and then you need to do something with Git tokens or something like that.
Yeah, there are all sorts of things that it could be. You know, there might be a proxy involved. There might be network failures. There might be a problem at the source, like you know, Drupal's GitLab might not be responding. I think that's okay as is. I don't think we need to change it.
Shall we move on, or Simo or Quinn?
Yeah, we can move on. I think the sentence is short and simple. I don't have anything to add on that.
So I actually think that after making these suggestions on the first two, we might just stop there, say number 3 is okay. I think number 4 is also okay, just looking at it briefly. And let the people working on the project browser issue continue from there. So the question is, we have 20 minutes left. Would we like to continue working on this? Or would we like to look at another issue? Simo, there was one that you were thinking of bringing up, right?
Yeah, but I think it might be a long one. But we could do a check on that. I'm trying to recall what we were talking about that before.
I think I put a link into the chat of the issue you were talking about. If you scroll up in the chat, it's 224-5767.
Yeah, that's one. That's the one.
Here, I'll share my screen. Give me a minute to find the right window. Yes. Okay. So again, this is issue 2245767. Allow blocks to be configured to show or hide on 200/403/404 response pages. So those are HTTP response codes. 200 is a successful connection. 403 means access denied or forbidden. 404 is page not found. So let's see, we talked about this at the end of March, and that issue looks like it's still open, probably because we haven't left a comment. So if I remember correctly, one of the ideas was instead of adding, and maybe I should also, just for context, go back to my site and structure block layout. When you're configuring a block, any old block, there are various conditions you can use, say only put it on English pages or only put it on Spanish pages, specific paths that can be included or excluded. And the proposal of this issue is to add another section here and say only show it on regular response pages, or only show it on access denied pages, or never show it on access denied pages, or only show it or never show it on page not found. So, for example, the search block, if I duplicate this tab, no such page, this should give me a 404 response page not found, and the search block does show up. So this would give us the option to say, no, the search page should not show up on 404 pages, or some alternative search page should show up on 404 pages. And one of our suggestions was, rather than adding a new condition, which is what the current issue does, is to extend this text field, which already uses front as a special path. Says so right here in the help text, that front refers to the home page, and also extend this so that 404 refers to a page not found, and 403. So that was one suggestion. Simo, do you remember the other things we discussed?
I don't remember, because this is the one that I thought was best. So I think we were talking about negating possibility for, I think, the current proposal in the issue, but I think why the reason I'm in favor of including that in pages, because this probably isn't a feature that is used so much on every site, and we are like as a country module, yeah, I'd be happy to have this separate vertical tab there. But when it's core, then it's included in all sites, in all blocks. So block visibility. So I think then it kind of often would add too much to the user interface if it's not really used so much. And also another thing is that with those response codes, it's a bit confusing that it kind of, if you need to check, like if you need to check response code 200, and I think if nothing is checked, and it shows on all pages 200 404, then it would change the current behavior. So it would need those defaults, and it's kind of also from that way a bit difficult. So I think adding it to those pages was my favorite option.
So that's what I was suggesting over here, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Ralph, you want to suggest something?
Just want to bring up one detail we've discussed in one related issue that was about the negation. Where we agreed, or where the consensus was that pattern with show for the listed pages and hide for the listed pages, that is a good one. But also we've agreed on to move that show and hide radio buttons from underneath to the top, meaning that the decision show or hide and the criteria after that in the pages. We've brought up that one in the context. There's on other tabs, there is the checkbox with negate the condition.
Trying to use the browser tools to illustrate what you have in mind, but maybe that's more than I need to do. So yeah, that's sort of related, that that we do like this pattern of having the explicit checkbox or radio buttons to either show or hide. And we were talking about putting that at the top rather than the bottom.
Yep.
Other existing ones don't have that pattern,
or they have the checkbox with negate. Yeah, right. That's negate the condition.
Yeah, so that's not in scope for the issue we're talking about, but it is something. Do we know if there's an issue for being more consistent there?
I don't think so. There is one. Right, and as far as I know, each of those tabs are in separate, is it plugins? And making that consistent, someone brought up the worry that it's a bit complicated to accomplish that.
Ow. That's not our problem. We are the usability team. We are not the implementation team. Yeah, so if we are going to be adding a new condition, we should follow the preferred pattern, which is to use explicit radio buttons. And this could be done in a contrib module. It doesn't have to be in core. It's not clear that it's something that enough people need, that it's worth putting into core. And then if we could implement it as part of the existing condition plugin, that would be a good user interface. It might not make sense from an implementation point of view, but I think that would be really great from the user interface point of view.
But one question, is the 200 response code a requirement for that issue to be brought in?
I'm not sure what you're asking.
Because the issue allow blocks to be configured to show or hide on 200, 403, and 404. They are adding a 200 also.
Yeah, but that would be just asterisks on pages, kind of all others or all existing paths would cover, I think, 200. Nobody probably wants it, but it would be possible also to have a 301 response, because I think that shows when if you are redirected, you get 301 and then you get the page.
Yeah, but then the page you get redirected to is the one producing the response.
I think I checked something actually today related to some redirection issues on one site, and I think for like doing CURL requests to those some of the pages, I think it showed that 301 in the response with the page content.
For instance, I put in an I here, I/issue number. That should give me a redirect back to the page I was just on. Oh, really?
3 or 4.
I got a 302 redirect. Huh, it's funny, why didn't, let me try that again. I'm a little confused here. Clear that off. I will.
Maybe use
enter.
different issue. Maybe use different issue number, because those get cached quite strongly.
Oh wait, it's still loading. There we go. Maybe I just wasn't patient enough. So yes, I got a 302 response, and I got redirected from the I/ pattern, the short version. I got redirected to the full project Drupal issues / issue number. And then that page gave me a 200 response. So, you know, the 302 response, the redirect, sort of isn't giving me any HTML. It's not showing me any blocks. It's not showing me anything. It's just giving me some HTTP headers. And then it's the page that I end up on that gives a 200 response. It doesn't know that there was a redirection involved. So when we get to a valid page, we don't know that we got there by way of a redirect. So I guess based on our discussion in March, I think where we came down was that this could be a contrib module. It's probably not needed enough to be worth adding to Drupal core. And that's debatable. It's not a final decision, but I would suggest making it a contrib module. And the alternative of adding these special patterns to the Pages plugin would be probably a better user interface. We just have a couple of minutes left. Any further comments on this issue? Okay. So we should definitely get a comment added, and then we can close out that usability issue from March. What's that?
Just one question. I'm still struggling with the 200 for the just in the example you have here, and the 200 is available. What does imply show for the listed pages if you have 404, 403 in front, for example, selected, and the 200 available? So is it then only on front 404 and 403 shown, or?
So if I have exactly this, then the block would show up on the home page. It would show up on the page not found page, and would show up on an access denied page.
So in a normal case, you would need to add wildcard, like just asterisks to have it in all pages.
So probably the only time you would use 200 is if you're hiding it. So only show it on 403 and 404 responses.
Yeah, but that's the point that is I'm struggling with having the 200 available as an option and having the show and the hide option. And that way, that is always a head spinner for me and makes me think. And
okay,
having dedicated error message pages, that's okay. But the 200 in the context of show and hide is confusing.
Okay, so and maybe we don't need it, but I think we have to cut it off there because we have reached the end of the hour. I will be at DrupalCon next week, Monday through Thursday, but I should be home in time for the Friday meeting. So I hope you can make it again then. And have a good week and a good weekend.
Good news. I'll meet you there, Benji.
Oh, good.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Have a nice weekend.
Yeah. Nice weekend. Bye.
Bye.